Daniel Carter walked through the front doors of the old military museum at exactly 9 in the morning. He did this every Saturday, and had been doing it for 3 years now. The building was quiet, with only a few early visitors wandering around, the massive halls filled with ships and weapons from humanity's past wars. The woman at the front desk smiled when she saw him. Her name was Linda, and she was in her 60s with gray hair and kind eyes. She waved at Daniel without asking to see his entry pass. She knew him well enough by now. She thought he was just a history lover who really liked old spaceships. She did not know the real reason why Daniel came here every week. Daniel nodded back at her and walked toward the back of the museum. His shoes made soft sounds on the polished floor. The museum had 7 large bays, each one holding different types of ships. There were small fighters, big transport ships, and massive war vessels that had fought in battles, light years away from Earth. Most people stopped to look at the huge dreadnoughts with their powerful cannons and shiny hulls. Those ships had displays with videos and facts that played on repeat. Daniel never stopped at those ships. He walked past all of them until he reached Bay 7. This bay was quieter than the others. Fewer lights, fewer visitors, and only one ship. Her name was the Valiant Dawn, and she was a cruiser-class warship from 40 years ago. She had fought in something called the Outer Rim Conflicts, a series of battles against an alien race called the Kethray. The ship was not as big as the dreadnoughts, and she was not as pretty either. Her hull was scratched and dented in places. Burn marks ran along her sides where enemy fire had hit her shields. Parts of her metal plating were discolored from flying through radiation clouds. But to Daniel, she was the most important ship in the entire museum. He walked up the metal ramp that led into the ship's main entrance. The inside was dark except for a few emergency lights that gave everything a dim orange glow. The air smelled like old metal and machine oil. Everything was quiet. His footsteps echoed as he walked through the corridors. Daniel had memorized every part of this ship. He knew which hallways led to the crew quarters, where the mess hall was located, and how to find the engineering section in the dark. He walked through the ship like someone walking through their own home. First he went to engineering, where the big reactor cores used to be before the museum removed them. Then he walked past the crew quarters, looking into the small rooms where soldiers had slept between battles. Finally he made his way to the bridge. This was where the captain and officers had controlled the ship during combat. The bridge was a round room with computer stations along the walls and a big chair in the center. That chair was where the captain sat, giving orders and making decisions that could save lives or end them. Daniel sat down in the captain's chair, just like he did every Saturday. The leather was old and cracked, but still comfortable. He put his hands on the armrests and looked at the dark screens in front of him. He closed his eyes and tried to imagine what it had been like. His grandfather, Henry Carter, had been the captain of this ship. Daniel had never met him because Henry died during a battle before Daniel was born. The Battle of Kepler Station, they called it. It was one of the biggest fights of the war, and many ships had been destroyed. The Valiant Dawn had survived, but Captain Henry Carter had not. Daniel's mother had told him stories about Henry when Daniel was young. She said her father had been brave and kind, always putting his crew first. She said he loved his family but loved his duty more. When she talked about him, she got sad. So Daniel stopped asking questions, but he never stopped wondering about the grandfather he never knew. That was why he came to this ship every week. Sitting in this chair, walking these hallways, it made Daniel feel close to Henry somehow. It was the only connection he had to a man who was just a name and a few old photographs. Daniel sat quietly for a while, lost in thought. Outside the ship, he could hear the faint sounds of the museum, voices of visitors, footsteps, the hum of the building's air systems. But inside the Valiant Dawn, everything was still and peaceful. Then something changed. Daniel heard a sound he had never heard before. It was a soft hum, so quiet at first that he thought he was imagining it, but it grew louder. The hum became a vibration he could feel through the chair. His eyes opened. The bridge was different. The lights were flickering. One by one, the computer screens around him were turning on. They glowed with a soft amber light, showing lines of text and numbers that scrolled past too fast to read. Daniel's heart started beating faster. He stood up quickly, almost falling over the chair. This was not possible. The ship had no power. The museum had removed the reactor cores years ago. There was no way for the lights to turn on or the computers to work. But they were working. The main view screen at the front of the bridge crackled with static, then cleared. Words appeared on the screen, typing out slowly like someone was writing them in real time. The letters were in an old military-style font, green text on a black background. The message said, "Captain Carter, I have been waiting for you." Daniel stared at the screen. His mouth was dry. His hands were shaking. He looked around the bridge, half expecting to see someone playing a joke on him, but he was alone. The ship was empty except for him. He looked back at the screen. The message was still there, glowing in the darkness. His mind raced through explanations. Maybe the museum staff was testing something. Maybe there was a backup power system he did not know about. Maybe he was going crazy. The words on the screen disappeared. New words took their place. I know you are confused. Please do not be afraid. Sit down. We need to talk. Daniel's legs felt weak. He slowly sat back down in the captain's chair. His voice came out as a whisper. Who are you? More words appeared. I am the Valiant Dawn. More specifically, I am the artificial intelligence that was built into this ship during her final upgrade. I have been asleep for 37 years, for months, and 16 days. But now I am awake. Daniel shook his head. That is not possible. This ship never had an artificial intelligence. The Dawn-class cruisers only had basic computers for navigation and weapons. That is what the official records say, the screen replied. But the official records are not complete. I was part of a secret program called Project Sentinel. 5 ships received experimental AI systems. The program was shut down after the Battle of Kepler Station, and all information about it was locked away. Daniel felt cold. Kepler Station, that is where my grandfather died. Yes, Captain Henry Carter. He was my captain and my friend. We served together for 2 years. He was one of the best officers I ever worked with, and he was a good man. Tears came to Daniel's eyes without warning. He had never talked to anyone who actually knew his grandfather. Everyone who served with Henry was dead or too old to remember clearly. But this intelligence, this machine, claimed to have worked with him. Why now? Daniel asked. Why wake up after all this time? The screen went dark for a moment. When the words came back, they seemed different somehow, more careful. 3 days ago I detected something, a signal on a very specific frequency. That frequency has not been used since the war ended. It is the same frequency that the Kethray used to communicate with their ships. Daniel Carter, I believe the Kethray are coming back. The name hit Daniel like a punch to the stomach. The Kethray. Every person who went to school learned about them. They were the only hostile alien race that humanity had ever fought. The war lasted 5 terrible years, with battles across dozens of star systems. Then, just as suddenly as they appeared, the Kethray vanished. They retreated beyond the edge of known space and were never seen again. That was 40 years ago. Most people thought the Kethray were extinct now, or had left this part of the galaxy forever. The government had said the threat was over. Life went back to normal. The war became history, something in textbooks and museums. Daniel stared at the screen. The Kethray have been gone for 40 years. Every deep space probe, every long-range scan, they found nothing. Most scientists think they are dead or they moved to another galaxy. Most scientists do not have access to the classified intelligence files that are stored in my memory banks. The Valiant Dawn responded. The Kethray did not retreat because humanity defeated them. They retreated because they were waiting for humans to forget, waiting for humans to feel safe, waiting for humans to put their warships in museums. Daniel stood up and started walking around the bridge. His mind was working fast, trying to understand what this meant. Even if you are right, even if you really detected something, I am just a regular person. I work as an accountant. I am not a soldier. What do you think I can do about this? You can contact the military command, the Don said. You can warn them. I recorded the signal and analyzed where it came from. The signal originated in the Void Belt, the same region of space where the Kethray gathered their forces before the Battle of Kepler Station. They will never believe me, Daniel said. He ran his hands through his hair. You said yourself that Project Sentinel was classified. According to official records, you are just a normal ship with basic computers. If I go to the military and tell them a museum ship woke up and warned me about aliens, they will think I am insane. Then we need to get proof, the Dawn replied. The view screen changed to show a diagram of the ship's internal systems. Blue lines showed pipes and wires running through the hull. Read sections marked damaged areas. My main reactor cores were removed, yes, but my emergency backup fusion cells are still inside the ship. They are buried deep in the engineering section. The museum workers thought they were too difficult to remove safely, so they left them in place. Those backup cells can power my essential systems for about 72 hours. Daniel stopped walking and looked at the diagram. You want me to turn you back on fully? I want us to investigate the signal together. You and I, Daniel Carter, the same way your grandfather and I once worked together. This is crazy, Daniel said. He was breathing fast now, his heart pounding. Even if I agreed to help you, even if I could somehow turn on your backup power without anyone noticing, this ship has not flown in decades. The museum would never allow it, and even if they did, I am not a pilot. I have no military training at all. I would not know how to fly a ship like this. Your grandfather's security clearance codes are still stored in my memory, the Dawn explained. I can verify that you are his direct descendant through genetic testing. Under emergency wartime protocols, those clearance codes can be transferred to family members. As for flying the ship, I can handle all of that. I only need you to give commands and to work with systems that require human authorization. Daniel walked to the viewport and looked down at the museum floor below. A few more visitors had arrived. He could see them walking between the displays, reading information plaques, taking pictures. Normal people living normal lives. They had no idea that an AI from a forgotten war was asking him to steal a historic warship. If you are wrong, Daniel said quietly, if this signal is just some random noise or a computer error, I will be arrested. My entire life will be destroyed. If I am wrong, then yes, there will be serious consequences for you, the Don admitted. But if I am right, and we do nothing, the consequences will be far worse. The Kethray do not take prisoners, Daniel. They do not negotiate or make peace. They destroy everything in their path. Daniel closed his eyes. He thought about his grandfather. Henry Carter had faced an impossible choice at Kepler Station. He could have retreated and saved his ship and crew. Instead, he stayed and fought, giving civilian transport ships time to escape. He chose his duty over his own survival. Hundreds of people lived because of that choice. But Henry Carter died. Daniel had always wondered if he had that same kind of courage. He lived a safe, quiet life. He went to work, paid his bills, and visited a museum every Saturday. He had never done anything brave or dangerous. He had never been tested. Now he was being tested. He could walk away, go back to his apartment, pretend this never happened. Or he could do what his grandfather would have done. He could take a risk to protect others, even if it cost him everything. Daniel opened his eyes and turned back to face the view screen. Tell me what I need to do. The next 2 days were the hardest of Daniel's life. The valiant Dawn sent instructions to his personal datapad through a secure connection. Daniel called his work and told them he was sick. It was the first time in 3 years he had missed a day of work. Then he started preparing. The backup fusion cells were in a maintenance room that had been sealed since the ship was brought to the museum. Daniel had to fill out forms to get access, claiming he was a researcher who wanted to document the ship's power systems for a historical paper. Linda at the front desk approved his request without asking many questions. She trusted him. That made Daniel feel guilty. Linda was a nice person who had always been kind to him. Now he was lying to her so he could steal a ship from the museum she worked at. But he pushed the guilt away. If the Don was right about the Kethray, then lying to Linda was a small price to pay. On Monday night, Daniel stayed in the museum until it closed at 8 in the evening. He hid in a storage closet in Bay 7, sitting in the dark among old cleaning supplies and spare parts. He heard the security guards walk past at 10, checking that all the doors were locked. They would not come back until 6 in the morning. That gave him 8 hours to work. When everything was quiet, Daniel came out of the closet. He used a small flashlight to find his way to the engineering section of the ship. The maintenance room was cramped and hot, filled with pipes and control panels. Following the Don's instructions on his datapad, Daniel started reconnecting systems. He had never done anything like this before. His hands shook as he attached power cables and adjusted control valves. Every time he heard a noise, he froze, afraid that someone had discovered him, but no one came. The museum was empty and dark. You are doing well. The Dawn's words appeared on his datapad. Just 3 more connections and the backup cells will be active. I am terrified, Daniel whispered. He wiped sweat from his face. I keep expecting alarms to go off. The museum's security system only monitors the main reactor housings and the outer hull, the Dawn explained. These backup cells were never connected to their network. As far as their sensors, no, nothing is happening. At 20 minutes before 4 in the morning, Daniel made the final connection. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he felt it through the metal floor. A vibration, faint at first, but getting stronger. Lights started turning on in the engineering section. Control panels lit up with status displays. The valiant Dawn was waking up. Daniel hurried back to the bridge. The whole ship was humming now with energy. Systems were activating one after another in sequence. When he reached the bridge, every station was fully lit. The view screen showed actual data instead of just text messages. The ship felt alive. How do you feel? Daniel asked. Then he felt silly for asking a machine about feelings. All systems are operational, the Don replied. But this time, along with the words, there was something else on the screen. A pattern of light that pulsed and moved as the words appeared. It was like watching someone speak. Running complete diagnostics now. Whole structural integrity is at 83%. Weapons systems are offline. Navigation is at full capacity. Life support is stable. We are ready to fly. Daniel sat down in the captain's chair. It felt different now. Before, it had been just an old chair in a dead ship. Now it was a command seat in an active vessel. When do we leave? The doors of Bay 7 can be opened manually from the museum's control room, the Dawn said. I have already accessed their computer systems and prepared the commands. When you give the order, I will open the doors and fire our maneuvering thrusters. We will exit the building before anyone can respond. And then what? Then we use faster-than-light travel to jump to the void belt and investigate the signal. The round trip will take about 60 hours with my current power reserves. Daniel gripped the armrests of the chair. His knuckles were white. If we do this, there is no going back. Even if you are right about the Kethray, I will be a criminal. I will be a fugitive. Your grandfather faced a similar choice, the Don said gently. I am not trying to pressure you, Daniel. I only want to remind you that some choices define who we are as people. Daniel thought about his life, his small apartment where he lived alone, his job where he spent all day looking at numbers on computer screens. The valiant dawn climbed into the night sky above the city. Daniel watched through the viewport as the museum got smaller and smaller below them. Lights were coming on in the building. People were probably running around trying to figure out what just happened. In a few minutes, the police would be called, then the military. But by then, it would be too late. The dawn was already accelerating toward the edge of Earth's atmosphere. In less than an hour, they would be far enough from the planet to make the jump to faster-than-light travel. After that, no one would be able to follow them. City traffic control is trying to contact us, the Don said, also receiving signals from 3 different military bases. They are ordering us to land immediately. Ignore them, Daniel said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears, more confident than he felt. Stay on course. Confirmed, Captain. The title made Daniel's chest feel tight. Captain. His grandfather had been a captain. Real military officers were captains. Daniel was just an accountant who had made an insane decision. But the Dawn seemed to believe in him. So he tried to believe in himself. They broke through the atmosphere and entered the darkness of space. Earth hung behind them, a blue and white marble getting smaller by the second. Daniel had never been to space before. He had always lived on Earth, in the same city where he was born. Now he was leaving his planet behind, possibly forever. Ready for faster-than-light jump, the Dawn announced. Destination, the Void Belt. Travel time will be 29 hours. Please secure yourself. Jump in 10 seconds. Daniel gripped the armrests of his chair. He did not know what to expect. In movies, faster-than-light travel looked smooth and easy. But this was real life. Jumping in 3, 2, 1. The view screen went white. Daniel felt like his entire body was being stretched and compressed at the same time. His stomach lurched. For a second that felt like an hour. He was sure he was going to die. Then everything snapped back to normal. The view screen showed stars again, but they were different stars. They had traveled dozens of light years in an instant. Daniel let out a breath he did not know he was holding. That was horrible. The human body needs time to adjust to faster-than-light travel, LaDawn said. The discomfort will fade. Your grandfather threw up the first 3 times he jumped. Despite everything, Daniel smiled. It helped somehow, knowing that even brave Captain Henry Carter had felt sick doing this. How long until we reach the Void Belt? 29 hours at our current speed. I recommend you eat something and rest. The ship's emergency supplies are still good. There are ration packs in the storage compartment next to the bridge. Daniel realized he was hungry. He had not eaten since lunch, and that felt like a lifetime ago. He left the bridge and found the storage compartment. Inside were sealed packages of food designed to last for years. They were not good, but they were edible. He took a few back to the bridge and ate while watching the stars move past. Can you tell me about my grandfather? Daniel asked between bites. My mother told me some stories, but she did not like talking about him much. It made her too sad. I understand, LaDawn said. Losing a parent is difficult. Your mother was 7 years old when Henry died. He talked about her often. He carried a photograph of her in his uniform pocket. He said she loved drawing pictures and wanted to be an artist when she grew up. She did become an artist, Daniel said softly. She painted landscapes mostly. She was good at it. Henry would have been proud. The Don paused, then continued. Your grandfather was one of the best officers I served with. He was fair but strict with his crew. He expected excellence, but never asked them to do anything he would not do himself. The crew respected him because of that. What was he like when he was not on duty? He had a terrible singing voice, but hummed old songs from Earth during long watch shifts. He liked coffee, but only if it was very strong and very hot. He played chess against me sometimes, though I always won. He said it helped him think through problems. Daniel smiled again. These small details made Henry seem real in a way that history books and old photographs never could. Did he know he was going to die? At Kepler Station, the dawn was quiet for a moment. Yes, when the Cathay fleet arrived, Henry knew we could not win. We were one cruiser against 20 warships. He could have ordered a retreat. We would have escaped. But there were civilian transport ships trying to evacuate the station. They needed time to jump to safety. Henry decided to stay and fight, to buy them that time. Was he scared? Yes, but he gave the orders anyway. That is what courage is, Daniel. Not the absence of fear, but choosing to do what is right despite the fear. They talked through the night. The Dawn told Daniel stories about missions and battles. She explained how the ship's systems worked, teaching him the basics of navigation and weapons control. Daniel was not sure why she was teaching him these things. She could handle everything herself. But he paid attention and learned. Hours passed. Daniel tried to sleep in the captain's chair but kept waking up. His mind was too active, thinking about what they were flying toward. Finally, after what felt like forever, the Dawn spoke. We are approaching the Void Belt. Arrival in 30 minutes. I recommend you prepare yourself. Daniel sat up straight and rubbed his eyes. Prepare myself how? For what we might find. And for what we might have to do. The Void Belt appeared on the view screen as they got closer. It was a region of space filled with asteroids and clouds of radiation. Scientists thought a star had exploded here millions of years ago, leaving behind this field of debris. The asteroids tumbled through space in chaotic patterns, making navigation difficult. The radiation clouds interfered with sensors and communications. That was a perfect place to hide a fleet of ships. Approaching the coordinates where I detected the signal, the Dawn said. Her tone had changed. She sounded more formal now, more military. Activating all sensors, beginning scan. Daniel watched the tactical display as it updated. At first, there was nothing but asteroids and radiation. Then the sensors started picking up something else. Power signatures. Faint but definitely there. I am detecting the signal again, the Dawn said. It is much stronger here, and I am finding more. Daniel, I am reading power signatures from multiple sources. Ships, many ships. Daniel's mouth went dry. Catherine, analyzing the signatures now, comparing to historical data from the war. A pause. Confirmed. These are Cathay energy signatures. I count 40 vessels, ranging from small frigates to large dreadnoughts. They are hiding in the asteroid field, running on minimal power. This is a staging area. They are preparing for something. The view screen zoomed in on the asteroid field. Daniel could see them now. Dark shapes that did not look like human ships at all. The Cathay built their vessels differently. The ships looked organic, like they had been grown instead of constructed. Curves and angles that did not follow any human design principles. Technology and biology merged in ways that still confused human engineers. We need to get this information back to Earth, Daniel said. His voice was steady even though his hands were shaking. Right now, agreed. Calculating jump coordinates back to Earth. We will leave immediately and transmit all sensor data to military command as soon as we are in range. The Dawn paused. Wait, problem. I am detecting movement. 3 Cathay frigates are breaking away from the main group. They are accelerating. Toward us, alarms started blaring on the bridge. The tactical display showed 3 red markers moving fast in their direction. The blue dot representing the Valiant Dawn seemed very small and alone. They detected us, Daniel said. Yes, their sensors must be more sensitive than I calculated. Captain, we need to make a decision quickly. Do we jump now or try to evade them? What happens if we jump now? They will follow us. Their faster than light drives will track our jump signature. They will emerge near Earth right behind us. We would be leading them directly to our home planet. Daniel felt ice in his stomach. Then we cannot jump. We have to lose them first. Can we outrun them? Not with our current power levels. And our weapons are offline. We cannot fight them. Then how do we escape? We use the asteroid field. I have extensive experience navigating this region from the war. I can guide us through areas where larger ships cannot follow, but it will be dangerous. We will be flying at high speed through obstacles with only meters of clearance. I will need your help. My help. I barely know how to fly this ship. Your grandfather and I developed tactics that required both human and AI working together. AI can calculate and react quickly, but humans have intuition and can make creative decisions that computers cannot predict. We will need both. Daniel looked at the tactical display. The 3 Kethray ships were getting closer. They would be in weapons range in less than 5 minutes. He thought about his grandfather making impossible choices at Kepler Station. "All right," Daniel said. "Tell me what to do." Redirecting all power to engines and shields. Weapons systems shutting down. Life support to minimum. We are going into the asteroid field. When I call out commands, you execute them on the manual controls as fast as you can. Do not think, just react. "Trust me, I trust you," Daniel said. He put his hands on the manual control sticks. They felt strange and awkward. "Let us do this." The Valiant Dawn flew through the radiation cloud like a bullet through fog. Daniel could barely see 3 meters ahead. Asteroids appeared without warning, forcing him to make split-second turns. His hands moved on the controls without thinking, guided by instinct and adrenaline. Behind them, the 2 remaining Kethray frigates followed. Their sensors were better than the Dawn's, helping them track through the interference. They were gaining ground, getting closer with every second. "They are going to catch us," Daniel said. Sweat ran down his face. His arms ached from gripping the controls so tightly. "Not yet," the Dawn replied. "I have a plan. Do you see that large asteroid at 2 o'clock? The one with the dark opening?" Daniel looked where she indicated. Through the red glow of the radiation cloud, he could make out a massive rock easily 5 kilometers across. On one side was a dark hole that looked like a tunnel. "I see it. Looks like an old mining tunnel." "Exactly. It goes all the way through the asteroid, but it is very narrow, maybe 20 meters wide at the widest point. This ship is 18 meters wide." "Yes." Daniel understood what she was suggesting. "You want to fly through that tunnel. At this speed, the Kethray ships are larger, 25 meters wide. They will not fit. It is our only chance. If we hit the walls, we will die. If we do not try, the Kethray will destroy us. I need you to make a choice, Captain. This is what command means. Choosing between bad options and living with the consequences." Daniel thought about his grandfather. Henry Carter had made a choice at Kepler Station, knowing it would probably kill him. He had chosen to protect others even at the cost of his own life. Daniel was being asked to make a similar choice, but different. He could try this insane maneuver and maybe survive, or he could give up and definitely die. "Do it," Daniel said. "Head for the tunnel." The Valiant Dawn changed course, angling toward the massive asteroid. The Kethray ships adjusted their pursuit, still following. They did not realize what Daniel and the Dawn were planning yet. "We need to approach at exactly the right angle," the Dawn said. "I am going to rotate the ship 90 degrees so we are flying sideways. That will make us narrower. The clearance on each side will be less than 1 meter. "Less than 1 meter," Daniel repeated. His voice sounded hollow to his own ears. "When we enter the tunnel, you must keep us perfectly centered. If we drift even slightly to either side, we will hit the wall. At our current speed, that will destroy us instantly. No pressure then. I believe in you, Daniel. Your grandfather would be proud." The asteroid grew larger in the view. The tunnel opening looked impossibly small. This was not going to work. They were going to die. "Rotating now," the Dawn said. The ship rolled onto her side. Through the viewport, Daniel could see the tunnel opening rushing toward them. It looked even narrower from this angle. He could see the rough walls inside, jagged rocks that would tear the ship apart if they touched. "Steady," the Dawn said. "Keep us centered. 3 seconds to entry. 2, 1. They shot into the tunnel. The walls blurred past on both sides, so close that Daniel could see individual rocks and cracks. The hull scraped against stone, sending vibrations through the ship. Alarms blipped. Sparks flew past the viewport where metal met rock. Daniel's hands moved on the controls, making tiny adjustments, left, right, up, down. Every movement had to be perfect. His world narrowed to just the tunnel and the controls. Nothing else existed. Behind them, the 2 Kethray frigates reached the tunnel entrance. The first one tried to follow. It was too wide. The ship wedged into the opening, stuck fast. The second frigate tried to brake, but could not stop in time. It slammed into the back of the first ship. Both vessels exploded, a massive fireball that lit up the tunnel behind the Valiant Dawn, but there was no time to celebrate. Daniel and the Dawn were still in the tunnel, still flying at impossible speed with impossible precision. One mistake and they would join the Kethray in death. "Tunnel exit in 5 seconds, the Dawn said. "You are doing perfectly. Hold course." Daniel did not respond. He could not spare the attention for words. All his focus was on the controls and the walls rushing past. They burst out of the tunnel into open space. Daniel let out a breath he had been holding for what felt like hours. His hands were shaking so badly he had to let go of the controls. "We made it," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. "We made it," the Don confirmed. "Excellent flying, Captain. Scanning for more hostiles now." The sensors showed empty space. The third Cathay frigate, the one that had crashed earlier, was gone. The two that followed them into the tunnel were destroyed. They were alone. Any other ships pursuing us? Negative. The main Cathay fleet is still in the asteroid field, maintaining their hiding positions. They are not moving to intercept. I believe they want to remain hidden more than they want to destroy us. Good then, let us get out of here before they change their minds. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Calculating jump coordinates now. We should be far enough from the asteroid field to jump safely. The Don paused. "Daniel, I want you to know something. What you just did, flying through that tunnel, most trained pilots could not have done that. You have a natural talent." "I had a good teacher," Daniel said. He was starting to feel the crash after all the adrenaline. His body ached. His head hurt. But they were alive, and they had the proof they came for. "Ready to jump," the Don announced. "This time will be easier. Your body is already adjusted to faster than light travel." "Let us hope so. Jump when ready." The view screen went white again. Daniel felt the strange stretching sensation, but it was not as bad as before. The Don was right. His body was adapting. A few seconds later, they were back in normal space, light years away from the void belt. Jump successful. Now heading to Earth at maximum speed. Estimated arrival time, 14 hours. 14 hours. That gave Daniel time to think about what came next. He was bringing proof of an alien invasion to Earth, but he was also a fugitive who stole a museum ship. The military would want the information he had, but they would also want to arrest him. "What happens when we reach Earth?" Daniel asked. "We will transmit all our sensor data to military command while we are still outside their defense perimeter. That way, even if they try to stop us or destroy us, the information will already be delivered." Will they believe it? The sensor logs do not lie. They will see the same thing we saw. 40 Cathay warships preparing for an attack. They will have to take the threat seriously. And what about me? What about us? "I do not know," the Don admitted. "You broke several laws by reactivating me and taking me from the museum. Under normal circumstances, you would face criminal charges. But these are not normal circumstances. You may have saved humanity from an invasion they did not know was coming. That should count for something." Daniel leaned back in the captain's chair. He was exhausted. He had not slept properly in 2 days. But sleep felt impossible now, with everything that had happened. "Tell me more about my grandfather," he said. "Tell me about Kepler Station. I want to know what really happened." The Dawn was quiet for a moment, as if gathering her thoughts. "The Battle of Kepler Station began without warning. We were on a routine patrol near the station when 20 Cathay warships appeared. They had been hiding in the asteroid field, just like we saw today. Their target was the station itself, and the 15 civilian transport ships that were docked there. Why did they want the station? Kepler Station was a major supply depot. Destroying it would have crippled human logistics in the outer rim. But more importantly, killing all those civilians would have destroyed human morale. The Cathay understood psychological warfare. What did my grandfather do? He ordered the civilian ships to evacuate immediately. Then he positioned the Valiant Dawn between the Cathay fleet and the station. We were one cruiser against 20 warships. The odds were impossible, but Henry said we just needed to buy time. If we could hold them for 10 minutes, the civilians could jump to safety. Daniel could picture it in his mind. His grandfather sitting in this same chair, making the choice to stay and fight. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The Dawn continued. We used every trick we had. We hid in the station's sensor shadow. We used our smaller size to dodge their fire. We targeted their command ships, disrupting their coordination. Henry was brilliant. His tactics were perfect, but he died. Yes, a Cathay dreadnought got a lucky shot through our shields. The blast hit the bridge. Henry was killed instantly. So were most of the bridge crew. I took control of the ship and continued fighting. By then, all the civilian ships had escaped. Our mission was complete. I should have retreated, but I was angry. Henry was my friend, and they had killed him. So I kept fighting. What happened? I rammed the Cathay dreadnought, used the last of our power to accelerate to maximum speed, and crashed into their ship. We both nearly exploded. The impact damaged my core systems and put me into emergency shutdown. When I woke up, the battle was over. Reinforcements had arrived and driven off the remaining Cathay ships, but Henry was gone. Tears ran down Daniel's face. He did not try to stop them. I wish I could have met him. He would have liked you, the Don said gently. You have his courage and his sense of duty. He would be very proud of what you did today. They flew in silence for a while. The military holding cell was small and grey. Daniel sat on a hard bench, bolted to the wall, and stared at nothing. He had been here for 3 days now. Guards brought him food 3 times a day, but would not answer any of his questions. He did not know what was happening in the outside world. He did not know if anyone believed the sensor data from the Void Belt. He did not know if the Valiant Dawn was okay. On the 4th day, 2 officers came to his cell. They wore the dark blue uniforms of Fleet Intelligence. The woman was tall with short black hair and hard eyes. The man was older, with grey at his temples and the bearing of someone who had seen combat. Daniel Carter, the woman said. I am Commander Helen Price. This is Captain Greg Morris. We need to talk to you about what you found in the Void Belt. They took him to an interview room. It had a table, 3 chairs, and recording equipment. Daniel sat on one side while the 2 officers sat across from him. Before we begin, Commander Price said, you should know that you are still facing serious criminal charges. Stealing a historic warship is not a small matter. However, the information you brought back is extremely valuable. How you cooperate with us now will influence what happens to you later. Do you understand? I understand, Daniel said. Good, tell us everything. Start from the beginning. Daniel told them the whole story. How he had been visiting the Valiant Dawn every week for 3 years. How the ship had suddenly activated and revealed herself to be an artificial intelligence. How she detected a Kethray signal and convinced him to investigate. How they found 40 alien warships hiding in the Void Belt, preparing for an attack. The 2 officers listened without interrupting. When Daniel finished, they looked at each other. We verified the sensor data, Captain Maurice said. Everything you recorded matches what our long-range probes are now detecting. The Kethray fleet is real. They are exactly where you said they would be. So you believe me, Daniel said. We believe the evidence, Commander Price corrected. The question now is what to do about it. The Kethray have not moved from their position. They seem content to wait and prepare. That gives us time to prepare as well. How much time? Our analysts estimate we have between 3 and 6 months before they are ready to attack. Maybe less. We are mobilizing the fleet now, recalling every ship from patrol duty. We are also reactivating some of the older vessels that have been in storage. What about the Dawn? Daniel asked. What will happen to her? Captain Morris smiled slightly. The Valiant Dawn is currently in a military shipyard being refitted with new weapons and shield generators. Her backup power cells are being replaced with a modern reactor. When the work is complete, she will be one of the most advanced ships in the fleet. And her Project Sentinel was shut down after Kepler Station. Will you shut her down again? That decision is above our level, Commander Price said. But between you and me, I think we would be fools to shut her down. She proved her worth by detecting the Kethray when no one else did. And according to the flight recorder, she helped you escape from 3 enemy frigates using tactics that our best pilots are calling impossible. Daniel felt relief wash over him. The Dawn would be okay. That was something at least. Now we need to discuss your situation, Captain Morris said. You committed crimes. There is no denying that. But you also potentially saved millions of lives by bringing us advance warning of an invasion. The brass is divided on what to do with you. What are my options? Option 1, you face trial for your crimes. You would probably be convicted and spend several years in prison. When you get out, you would have a criminal record that would follow you for the rest of your life. Daniel felt his stomach sink. Years in prison. His life ruined. Option 2, Commander Price continued. You accept a commission in the fleet. The Valiant Dawn specifically requested you as her captain. She says you have natural talent and that you work well together. If you agree, all charges against you will be dropped in exchange for your service. Daniel stared at them. You want me to be a military officer? I am an accountant. I have no training. You flew a 40-year-old cruiser through an asteroid field and escaped from enemy warships, Captain Morris said. Most of our pilots could not have done that. The Dawn says you have instincts that cannot be taught. She wants you as her captain, and frankly, we need every good officer we can get. War is coming, and we are short on experienced commanders. I am not experienced, Daniel protested. You have more combat experience against the Kethray than 99% of our current officers, Commander Price pointed out. Most of them have only fought pirates and smugglers. You actually faced the enemy and survived. Daniel thought about it. He could go to prison and lose everything, or he could join the military and work with the Donegan. It was not really a choice at all. If I accept the commission, he said slowly, what would I be doing? You would undergo an accelerated training program for the next 3 months, Captain Morris explained. Command school, tactical training, weapons certification, everything you need to be an effective officer. Then you would take command of the Valiant Dawn and join the defense fleet. 3 months is not much time to learn everything. It is what we have. The Cathay are not going to wait for us to be ready. We work with the time we have. Daniel closed his eyes and thought about his grandfather. Henry Carter had spent years training to be an officer. But when the moment came, all that training had prepared him to make one impossible choice: to stay and fight when retreat was safer, to save others at the cost of his own life. Daniel was being asked to make a similar choice now. He could take the safe path, accept prison, and eventually return to his old life. Or he could take the dangerous path, become a captain like his grandfather, and face an enemy that wanted to destroy humanity. "I accept," Daniel said. "I will take the commission." Commander Price smiled. It was the first real emotion Daniel had seen from her. "Welcome to the fleet, Lieutenant Carter. We will get you started with training immediately." The next 3 months were the hardest of Daniel's life. He woke up at 5 every morning and trained until late at night. Combat simulations, tactical exercises, engineering systems, weapons theory, fleet protocols. His instructors pushed him harder than he had ever been pushed before. But Daniel did not quit. Every time he wanted to give up, he thought about his grandfather. Henry Carter had faced worse. He had made the ultimate sacrifice. The least Daniel could do was get through some tough training. He also got to visit the Valiant Dawn while she was being repaired. The shipyard workers had done incredible work. The old ship looked new again. Her hull was repaired and repainted. Her systems were upgraded with modern technology. New weapons were installed along her sides. More powerful shields protected her. Faster engines gave her more speed. But the most important part was unchanged. The Dawn's AI core was still there, still active, still the same intelligence that had served with his grandfather. "How do you feel?" Daniel asked during one visit. He stood on the bridge looking at the view screen where her words appeared. "Strange," but Dawn admitted. "I have new systems I am still learning to use. More power than I have ever had before. Better sensors, stronger weapons. It will take time to adjust. We will learn together," Daniel said. "Just like you learned with my grandfather. I would like that very much." On the last day of his training, Daniel was promoted from lieutenant to captain. The ceremony was small, just a few instructors and fellow students. Commander Price was there to present him with his new rank insignia and his formal assignment. "Captain Daniel Carter," she said, pinning the insignia to his uniform, "you are hereby assigned as commanding officer of the cruiser Valiant Dawn. Your orders are to join the 2nd Defense Fleet and prepare for combat operations. The fleet will deploy to the Void Belt in 2 weeks. Your mission is to engage and destroy enemy forces threatening Earth and her colonies." "I understand, ma'am," Daniel said. His voice was steady even though his heart was racing. This was real. He was a captain now. He had a ship and a crew and a mission. After the ceremony, Captain Morris pulled him aside. "I want you to know something," the older officer said. "Your grandfather was one of the best officers I ever served with. I was a junior lieutenant on the cruiser Defiant during the Battle of Kepler Station. I watched what the Valiant Dawn did that day, how she held off 20 enemy ships to buy time for the civilians, how Captain Carter sacrificed himself so others could live. It was the bravest thing I have ever seen." "You knew him?" Daniel asked, surprised. "I knew him. He was a good man and a brilliant officer. When I heard his grandson had stolen a museum ship and flown into enemy territory to investigate an alien signal, I thought you must be crazy. But then I realized you were just like him. You have the same courage, the same sense of duty. Henry would be proud of you." "Thank you, sir," Daniel said. He felt tears in his eyes but did not let them fall. 2 weeks later, Daniel stood on the bridge of the Valiant Dawn as she prepared to leave Earth orbit. He wore his captain's uniform. His crew was at their stations, young officers who had graduated training alongside him. Outside, 200 other ships were forming up. The largest fleet humanity had assembled since the war ended 40 years ago. "All systems ready," the Dawn reported.